we're starting the Galloway training program here. If you have any specifics as to where, when, and where to meet and so forth, we will have a brief presentation on that right at the end. But I'm very pleased because I know what a great running town Columbus is, and I'm very pleased that we have a program here. One of the great benefits of the Galloway program is that when you're on vacation or travel for whatever reason, we have these now in 90 cities. And so chances are you will find a program in another city if you need to get in a run. You can connect right up with them. We also have a wonderful beach retreat area on 30A in Panhandle, Florida, near Seaside, Grayton Beach, Destin, with a forest that has over 300 miles of trails through it. And I hope that y'all can come down some weekend. These are weekend retreats, and we love them. My main mission tonight is to give you the keys to the running kingdom of how you can stay injury-free and achieve whatever you want to in your running in terms of distance. Now, I will never guarantee your finish time because that has a number of other variables associated with it, including how well you chose your parents. But in terms of finishing any event, almost anyone can finish a marathon or longer event. And I'm here to help you understand the principles here and also solve problems. A lot of folks have already told me how they tended to have aches, pains, breakdowns, motivational lapses. And I'm going to start off with the motivation side because I just finished and published a book called Mental Training, The Key to Motivation. What I discovered is that, and there's a lot in the literature and research about this, but the main reason that I see most runners losing motivation, particularly during training program, is due to the stress level that builds up, often self-imposed. We have two sources of brain power that we usually rely upon and use extensively. One is the subconscious reflex brain. This is the more ancient brain that we inherited from our animal ancestors, and it's been around for millions of years. The more human brain, and the more modern brain, as it were, is the frontal lobe. This allows us to gain conscious control over the reflex brain. And this is important because as stress builds up from any source, the reflex brain starts subconsciously secreting negative attitude hormones. And there's a lot of stress that is associated with physical activity. And unless you're a very unusual person, you probably have some other stress in your life also. Well, the reflex brain is constantly monitoring the level of stress. And when it deems to be at too high a level, it will start taking action. One of the other things that it will do is it will actually cut off some of the blood flow to damaged areas in the body, causing pain to come in. It's also well documented that a number of injuries that tend to hurt at a certain point in your training program are not really produced by the damage in that area, but by the stress level. And the reflex brain shunts off the blood flow, causing the darn thing to hurt like crazy. You can take control over the reflex brain by saying certain cognitive things, having a cognitive strategy. For example, when you start to feel the anxiety and negative hormones come on due to a tough day at work and a tough workout, you say, okay, reflex brain, I know what you're doing. You think that I'm under too much stress here, and you're trying to shut me down. Well, I'm not going to allow you to do that. That sounds silly, but it's not. What it does is get you in the conscious brain, and it takes control away from the continual production of those negative hormones. In the process, you start the secretion of positive attitude hormones. And believe me, a lot has to do with the statements that you make. Mantras can be quite powerful, mainly if you pick positive mantras. You are what you believe in for the next 10 minutes. And when you say positive things and you believe in those positive things and what they can do, then you start to secrete more positive hormones, and you can turn around negative attitudes within 10 minutes if you choose to do so. It's all about gaining cognitive control. And I have a number of other things that, other techniques in that book. But one of them that I was asked about before the getting started here this evening was, how in the heck do you get yourself out of bed early enough when it really gets hot and you don't really want to do that? Well, here is a rehearsal training plan that you can work on to get you out of that bed and on the road running. And again, this is a mental rehearsal plan. So you go over this thing in your mind over and over again. It's the night before. You know you need to get up early and do your run. So you lay out all of the clothes, shoes, and things you're going to need the next morning near the coffee pot. And then as you're going to sleep, lying down, you're saying to yourself, feet on the floor, alarm off to the coffee pot. Feet, alarm, coffee, feet, alarm, coffee. Not only does the mantra lull you to sleep, but you're preparing yourself for action without thinking the next morning. What you're doing is reprogramming the reflex brain to do what you want it to do the next morning. So when the alarm goes off, because you've rehearsed, you put your feet on the floor, you turn the alarm off, and without thinking, you are on your way to the coffee pot. You're not thinking about running. It's all about the next step in the rehearsal chain that you've made. You start to brew up the coffee. You put on one piece of clothing at a time. You're sipping the coffee. You're sticking your head out the door to see what the weather's like. You walk around the yard to see what the neighbors are doing. And then you cross the street and you're on your way. It's all about setting up a series of small steps, no one of which builds stress on the reflex brain. Rehearsing those steps over and over again so that they become embedded in the reflex brain. And then when you get in that situation, you are 90% or more likely to do what you need to do without thinking about it. And then it's a good thing. Practically any situation that you are challenged by, you can set up a rehearsal plan like that and be on your way and get through the tough times in workouts and in other areas of life. I wanted to explain a little bit about the mysteries that a lot of people have about running and why you get injured and why you get fatigued prematurely in your training runs, why you hit the wall in races. Hitting the wall, for those of you who have not heard that term before, means that you have pushed yourself to a certain point in a run or a long walk, and you're so exhausted that you really just can't keep going. And you've really lost all confidence in your ability as well as the physical capabilities to go on. You're exhausted. You never have to hit that wall, but it's most commonly due to starting out too fast for you on that day, and for runners, for not putting the walk breaks in frequently enough. And I'll talk about the walk breaks a little bit later. But the most common reason why people hit that wall and get discouraged is that they don't have a clue what the appropriate pace would be. What we have in our Galloway program is a very accurate predictor of that. It's called the Magic Mile. Magic Mile is a time trial that we do regularly. The first one is not done fast at all. It's simply a timed 1 mile segment. And you just go out there, get yourself through it. Don't run it hard, just get a time. Then on the second one, your mission is to beat that time on the first one. And on each successive one, you're out to beat yourself, your time. The reality is that after 4 of these, and these are not done on the same day, they're not done on the same week. They're usually done about every other week. After about 4 of them, your time that's produced in the mile is a very good predictor of what you're capable of doing in races that are longer than that, because I've now collected more than 40,000 performances when people have done the mile and they've run a longer race in that season. And I found that the average slowdown in a marathon is 30%. In a half marathon, 20%. 10K, 15%. And then a 5K, 33 seconds per mile. So let's say that someone after 4 of these magic miles runs a 10-minute flat. That says that currently they're predicting an all-out time in a 5K of 10:33 per mile, 11:30 per mile in a 10K, 12 minutes per mile in an all-out half marathon, and 13 minutes per mile in an all-out marathon. Now, again, those are all-out predicted performances based on ideal conditions, which don't usually occur. But at least you know what the ideal would be, and then you can adjust for non-ideal conditions. But at least it gives you a glimpse into the future to see what your current potential is. And then as you go through a series of training programs and keep checking yourself, you can monitor progress. And I will tell you that in our Galloway programs in over 90 cities, almost everybody improves on almost every magic mile, and that is a wonderful thing for the ego to see that improvement. And it can happen to you. But the best part, again, is giving you a reality check on your goal and your pacing. Now, what we found to be a safe pace on long runs is to go 2 minutes per mile slower than is predicted currently in the marathon.